It's about bringing in a community and having that experience.
The beloved Grand Illusion Theater just closed its doors, and now it's searching for a new home. We take a look at what's made this small space a huge favorite among Seattle's most passionate movie lovers.
You are conveying their stories using the medium of comics.
And meet the comics journalists who illustrate difficult healthcare cases at the Seattle King County Clinic.
I mean, it's the biggest video store on planet Earth.
Scarecrow Video is the place for hard-to-find movies and videos. Come with us as we browse their massive catalog and hit rewind on their incredible history. These stories and more next on CityStream. Hi, I'm Enrique Cerna. Welcome to CityStream from MoPOP. The Museum of Pop Culture, better known as MoPOP, celebrates all things pop culture. Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen launched it in 2000 as the Experience Music Project. Today, MoPOP houses the world's largest collection of Nirvana memorabilia, along with iconic artifacts from Jimi Hendrix, sci-fi, horror, fantasy, TV and film, and much more. Famed architect Frank Gehry designed the bold, funky form structure. You really couldn't miss it if you tried, whether walking by on the Seattle Center campus or riding through it on the monorail. Seattle's oldest independent movie theater, the Grand Illusion, closed its doors in January. For more than 50 years, they've shown everything from the classics to the cult classics. But with no new permanent home, the future of the organization remains uncertain. Producers Drew Hylands and Vanishing Seattle's Cynthia Brothers show us why their loyal employees and fans are not ready to call it lights out just yet.
The Grand Illusion Cinema, it's a small nonprofit volunteer-operated movie theater in the U District. It was started in 1970 by a guy named Randy Finley, and it was called the Movie House back then, and he kind of recognized, oh, there needs to be a spot for students to come see movies. It was kind of like he saw an opportunity, I guess, with the market to be like, oh, I can show these movies that like nobody else is showing. And Randy operated it probably until like the late 70s, and I think that's when it became the Grand Illusion, and that's when Paul Doyle took over and renamed it the Grand Illusion.
It's about bringing in a community and having that experience that you're not going to get it with streaming. You will only get it with a room full of people. And it's just big enough to be a home.
What is great about the Grand Illusion, what was great about the Grand Illusion, it's its intimacy, because it's so small. There's like 68 seats in the place. Yeah, it's a small screen, but there's not a bad seat in the house, and you're in the movie, and you're experiencing it in a close proximity to the rest of the audience.
I came here in 1977 as a student at the University of Washington, and this was the very first cinema in Seattle I came to, and I loved it. And they also showed very special movies from all over the world, which was already hard to find in the US at that time.
I think we just bring, a huge sense of community, and to replay a lot of movies that don't get like huge distribution, so people they will come here specifically to see it.
We're not really tied to the new releases, the Hollywood blockbusters or anything like that, so we can show older repertory films, classic stuff, new foreign and independent things all the time.
There's Kung Fu Clubhouse, there's VHS Uber Alles, which they have their own little scene that they bring it here, and people come here to enjoy it. I think it's a space where people can really enjoy like the full spectrum of really highbrow and really lowbrow, which always existed, but I feel like it really thrives. What I think the thing has changed is just the audience has really grown, and we have a lot of loyal people.
I've been sitting out here since 4 o'clock, hoping to get a ticket. I was foolish and did not purchase my ticket ahead of time, so I'm participating in the Grand Illusion's time-honored tradition of the standby line.
theaters are rare enough, but like a theater like this is really rare. And the staff is amazing. The people I've met, it's just like it's a cool community, and it's just such a nice group of people, and everybody's really passionate about it. It's amazing.
I love this theater. That's about, being in community with other people who are interested in the same kinds of things, and actually standing in line and talking with my neighbors in line was a huge part of it. Some of the first most interesting movies I saw here.
It's right here, it's right in the U District. It's easily accessible by public transit. It's a stone's throw away from UW. It's not shiny and brand new. It's wonderfully scuffed up. It's like a comfortable pair of jeans. That's something that I'll miss about having the Grand Illusion be here.
Well, it's such a funky building, and I spent so much time here, and like there's weird crawl spaces and things like that. In the booth, like the walls are covered with stuff I hung up while I was here projecting. It's a lot of pictures, it's a picture of me and Quentin Tarantino standing in front of the Grand Illusion, so had a lot of good times here.
That's kind of the name of the game around here. It's just like random stuff, nobody knows where it came from. I mean, it's one of my favorite spots, to ever hang out in. Yeah, you just kind of absorb it all the weird stuff hanging all over the place. And I mean, it's still, it's just a little room, but like hard to imagine a new place having the soul of it. It's like a place you kind of want to show somebody if they've never been here for the first time. You want to be like, oh, you should check out the booth, because it's like really cool in there. There's all this stuff on the walls and this big machinery and stuff like that. But I would say it's like where the magic happens,
Talking about the building and lawn. I know very well what you're
This week's probably been a little harder, just knowing that the end is near and all that kind of stuff. But it's not like there's like some good stuff happening, so I know it's not the end of it. It's mostly just kind of like, oh, there's a lot of memories here, a lot of connections with people, and just the routine of it, I guess, But yeah, definitely getting to me a little bit that it's kind of coming to an end, at least at this location, to say bye to it all. Hey everybody, thanks for being here for our final night of shows here at 1403 Northeast 50th Street. It's been a movie theater here for like 54 years, so like you can't really just move into some new spot and be like, oh hey, it's the movie theater again. It's just like you remember it. So whenever we move, a lot of stuff's going to change, but it's still like, it's a shoebox, and there's speakers and a screen and all that, and it's like an immersive experience. Sorry. But yeah, the plan has always been to move the theater, and yeah, I appreciate everybody being here, and we'll get the show on the road. So thanks.
I was born in Seattle. I lived my whole life here. I've watched people die, buildings get knocked down. Everything has its time, and everything has a lifespan, and eventually it goes away, and hopefully people make something, really interesting that happens here. And maybe they don't, and that's what happens.
The Grand Illusion is still active with their memberships, as well as special pop-up screenings at other independent theaters around Seattle. To learn more about what is screening, where, and when, as well as any updates on a possible new home, visit grandillusioncinema.org. Since we're here, we thought we'd give you a little look around MoPOP. This particular section has over 150 artifacts from sci-fi movies and TV shows. Just the other weekend, they had a special May the 4th event celebrating the Star Wars franchise. There was cosplay, family activities, and lots of genuine artifacts from the films. Next, telling serious stories through comics. Meet the comics journalists of the Seattle King County Clinic as CityStream continues.
We are are the everyday storytellers of this great city. We are Seattle Channel, a gateway to everything Seattle. The intersection between government, culture, news, and the ever-unfolding story of the city we call home. So follow your curiosity and come explore Seattle with us. Seattle Channel.
Welcome back to CityStream from MoPOP. Not far from here, the Seattle King County Clinic just wrapped up its 10th year, changing lives by offering free medical and dental care to thousands. In total, providers saw more than 3,300 patients in 4 days, providing more than $10 million worth of services they otherwise could not afford. But behind those numbers are real people, each with a story shaped by inequity and by a healthcare system that too often leaves them behind. How do you share those deeply personal stories while protecting privacy? Comics journalists have found a powerful way. Producer Randy Ng has more.
People who come from all walks of life who need to use the Seattle King County Clinic. They have many different reasons. So we wanted to be able to share their stories as part of the work that we do with the clinic.
I'm 37 years old. I work for a small business. They can't afford dental insurance.
Comics journalism is using the medium of comics, but in this case, you're talking to people and then do interviews like a newspaper article or for TV, and then you are conveying their stories using the medium of comics.
When they share those stories with a comic journalist, these comics, these illustrated stories really have the ability to help better inform people about who's struggling to get care and why they're in this situation. Because a lot of times people jump to conclusions. One of the first conclusions people jump to right now is that people in need are people experiencing homelessness. With Seattle King County Clinic, 95% of our patients are housed.
Comics are fun to read. Although it might take you by surprise, you might think you're about to have a laugh, and instead you're like, oh no, this is actually a tragic story.
In another hour, I'll have dental surgery, an extraction. Without this clinic, dental is myself and a pair of pliers. I've done it before. It's not fun.
The reason why we were doing comics at all is to get people to look at the problems in different ways.
I have insurance, but they don't cover more than one a year.
These are real people, and they're real people telling their stories in the churn of this system. You can have what you think is good medical insurance until you really put it to use.
I've always had eczema my whole life. I saw a dermatologist and they sent me to light therapy, which was very effective in helping my eczema. Anyway, they changed healthcare plans in the middle of me getting these treatments. And I just was like, oh yeah, it's covered. Like I didn't think that would change, you know. Now I know much better. This was me getting all my medical bills in the mail and trying to pretend that they didn't exist because I didn't have the money to pay them. One of the things I really love about comics is that it makes subjects that are hard to talk about or taboo or, you know, difficult for whatever reason, a little bit easier to digest, a little bit easier to consume because it feels a little bit more harmless.
I like the comics medium because it's also emotional. We can convey a lot of empathy for what people are going through. We can hear what they're saying. We can also have thought bubbles that express what they're thinking. We can show the humanity in their face and really try and connect to people who are reading it who might have similar experiences. So I really like using that emotional part of the comics medium.
Call me Trombone Larry. I moved here after Katrina hit New Orleans. I need a crown or something to cover my broken tooth.
He had had some damage to his teeth, and because of that, he couldn't get his mouth into the right position to play the trombone.
Without that piece of tooth, I can't put the real oomph into the music. If you can't get that, what else you got?
For him, it meant that he would be able to go back to work playing music if he could get his teeth fixed. You was somebody I was able to get in touch with afterwards because I wanted him to see the comic strip I drew about him. And he was actually playing music again, and he was really happy about it. You know, that one sticks in my mind.
Janet. So she was part of our intermittent parking staff. She would come in when there were certain events. She had some dental needs that were beyond her financial capabilities, and so she was going to come and wait in line for a ticket and try to get dental care. So she came to the clinic on a subsequent day, ended up, I think, getting some crowns. As she was starting to make her way to the exit, somebody stopped her and said, "You look to be somebody who's about an age that may need a mammogram." And so she said, "You know what? My primary care provider has been suggesting this for a really long time. I've been putting it off. I'm going to go do it." And she did. And she told me that they diagnosed her with breast cancer in that mammography exam. You know, here was somebody who was working, but they just couldn't afford it with the type of insurance that they had. Janet continued to work at Seattle Center, and she came back for a number of years as a volunteer because she wanted to pay it forward. Unfortunately, in our 5th year, Janet succumbed to her diagnosis of breast cancer.
Part of the responsibility of telling these stories is making sure that we actually do something with them, that we use it as a call to action, to advocate for better access to healthcare services.
We've started to include these comics in our final reports, and I ultimately learned I had to hold back these comics because they got so engrossed in looking at these that they wouldn't pay attention to what I was saying.
I think that's something that people need to get, is that the clinic as a Band-Aid on the system. These comics are just part of the larger cry for help to see that the people deserve so much better.
New comics will be made this year with more patient stories, Tatiana's experiences with medical debt, and the future of healthcare accessibility. To view the current clinic stories, visit seattle.gov/SKC Clinic and scroll down to Stories from Seattle King County Clinic. Let's take a look at another special exhibit here at MoPOP. It's called Asian Comics, Evolution of an Art Form. This immersive experience explores the powerful impact of comics art on global pop culture. It goes far beyond manga and anime. Asian comics art stretches back hundreds of years and spans many regions. This bold art form has influenced everything from politics and fashion to music, video games, and film. Coming up next, we visit the place to find those hard-to-get, out-of-print movies you won't see on any streaming service. We browse the shelves of Scarecrow Video right after this. Welcome back to CityStream from MoPOP, the Museum of Pop Culture. Many of the artifacts here are from well-known movies you can easily find streamed online. But what about those hidden gems you loved and you just can't find anymore? Especially foreign films or the really old ones. Now, I've searched everywhere for one of my favorites, Bigfoot Exorcists, and I haven't found it yet. Well, that's where Scarecrow Video comes in. It might be your best shot. Felix Benel has more.
All right, well, over here you've got all the used and new stuff for sale. A lot of people sort of forget that we get new releases a lot.
Matt Lynch works at Scarecrow Video on Roosevelt. He's been there since 2003.
The job at that point was mostly renting people movies and putting the movies back on the shelves when they come back. And so most of what you do all day is have a big stack of movies under your arm, and you have to learn where everything is, or else it's going to take you forever to put it all away. Some of my favorite little esoteric sections are right here. There's blaxploitation, room for car chase movies, bikers, rednecks, truckers.
I did my job.
The store's only been there 10 years longer than Matt.
It's like I've been staring at these stacks for 2 decades, and I can still find something I never saw before. It's pretty amazing.
There aren't too many video stores left in Seattle, or really anywhere these days.
I mean, you know, there are still video stores up and running that have been started, you know, in the meantime, but they're certainly not as big as we are.
But Scarecrow is special, and Matt is special too.
I know myself pretty well, and I like it here. This is where I belong.
Of course, I'm not bright about doing things.
One of his favorite movies was Wizard of Oz, and we really liked the character of the Scarecrow because he had lots of heart and no brains. And then it rhymed, Scarecrow video. So we're like, okay, that's it, we're doing it.
Rebecca Soriano has spent a lot of time at Scarecrow Video. She's the co-founder of the place, along with George Latsios.
George is a really cool guy.
Well, I always wanted to have a video store. I always loved movies and such, so dream is to own your own movie theater, you know, and of course it's impossible these days. So the next best thing was a video store.
George was my husband, and he and I met in Pennsylvania. He wanted to have a video store, and it was going to be the best video store ever. He explained it to me, and I bought into it, and I said, okay. So I remember when we moved in, this was huge. We didn't have enough tapes to fill it. So the front part of the store was a place to drink coffee.
That's interesting.
George and Rebecca had a plan to buy a house and work their day jobs for a while until they had enough money saved to open a store. But George couldn't wait that long, so he quit his job. But somehow they found a way to rent a storefront. Before Roosevelt, the first Scarecrow Video was at 65th and Latona.
So it was tiny. It was, I don't remember how many square feet, but it wasn't very big. We had 400 movies, approximately, I'm not sure. George was in charge of kind of organizing the videos, and I made the posters. There's still one here, it makes me laugh. The signs, I mean. Anyway, some of these signs I made myself, which is amazing. They're still here.
Scarecrow Video was not an overnight success. Rebecca was teaching school and working in the store in the evenings, but the eclectic and growing collection was attracting fans and building a following, like musician Kurt Cobain and film critic Roger Ebert.
And one day I got a phone call from somebody, and they were like, Roger Ebert just helped me find a movie in your store. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, isn't it? It was so awesome.
By the early 90s, Scarecrow had outgrown its Latona home. It was time to find someplace bigger.
Just having one or a handful of great video stores. And not only in the same town, I want to, you know, scatter them everywhere. Maybe one in Frisco, maybe one in Tokyo, one in London.
The new Scarecrow Video was busier than ever. Then tragedy struck. George was diagnosed with an aggressive brain tumor. There were many tough years. George doubled down on working at Scarecrow for as long as his health allowed. Eventually, he went back to his native Greece. The couple divorced, amicably, says Rebecca, and they sold the store. And then, sadly, George passed away.
He was the most radical guy I ever knew.
We had various people who wanted it, and then we had 2 people who came in who were film buffs. They were also Microsoft employees, and they had the money to buy it. We lucked out, totally lucked out. It could have been a disaster.
Speaking of disasters, besides Scarecrow, have you seen many video stores around lately that still rent video tapes?
Rewind!
Now, we keep all the videotapes back here. They take up a lot of space. We've built these custom roller shelves to keep them organized.
Or have you seen any video stores, period? Thanks to passionate staff and customers, Scarecrow Video has found a way to survive. Thrive, even.
You know, I think that Scarecrow is a really interesting jewel in Seattle's crown. I mean, it's the biggest video store on planet Earth. In this city that's become so sort of tech and convenience oriented, it sort of stands as a piece of that DIY spirit that Seattle's built on.
Part of that DIY spirit means radically shifting how Scarecrow does business. In fact, they're technically no longer even considered a business.
On this live stream fundraiser, we're going to attempt to raise
$30,000.
Well, we're a nonprofit. We were a nonprofit in 2014, so that's a big part of it. That allows us to fundraise, some memberships, things like that. We started a rent-by-mail program as a pilot program just before COVID, and then when COVID struck, that kept us alive during the lockdown.
That's awesome, man.
Rebecca hasn't been officially part of Scarecrow for decades, but she still comes back every now and then, which is good because she knows some of the best stories about the place.
We used to tease that this whole wing right here was funded by Kurt Cobain and his late fees.
But you don't have to be a rock star or a famous film critic to appreciate and be welcomed by Scarecrow Video. There's something here for everyone.
To me right now it's overwhelming because I'm walking down the aisles and it's so much more than I remember, and it's like I could spend hours in here. I just don't even know where to start.
But I didn't scare you?
Scarecrows don't bring the crows, they chase them away.
Even though George is gone and the video rental business has disappeared from nearly everywhere else, people keep coming back to Scarecrow to celebrate George's legacy and to rent some pretty great movies too.
That's a wrap.
Since this feature originally aired, Scarecrow Video has received enough donations to keep the lights on for another 2 years. That gives you at least 2 years to go through their 150,000 title library. If you'd like to see what they've got, go to their webpage at scarecrowvideo.org. And yes, Bigfoot Exorcist is in their catalog. That wraps up this edition of CityStream from MoPOP, the Museum of Pop Culture. If you'd like to know more about the museum, their special exhibits and events, as well as this guy, Jason, just go to their website at mopop.org. I'm Enrique Cerna. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.